Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something kind of weird, a real paradox at the very heart of the business world. You know how companies are always saying, our people are our most important asset? But then you go and look at their official financial reports, and the people are nowhere to be found. So let's get into it. Why is the most valuable part of any company totally invisible on the balance sheet?
So let me just ask you right now, what do you think a company's greatest asset really is? Is it the buildings they own? All their patents? The pile of cash they're sitting on? Well, for years and years, if you asked any business leader, they'd give you a totally different answer. And they'd all say the same thing.
Yep, you've heard this a million times, I'm sure. Our people are our greatest asset. It's plastered all over company websites. It's in every big meeting. And look, it feels right, doesn't it? I mean, it's the people, their ideas, their skills, their energy that actually make a company go. But there's a huge disconnect. And this is where it gets really strange. This is the core problem. You have CEOs saying one thing, people are assets, while their own accountants are forced by the rules to do the complete opposite and list people as an expense. And trust me, this isn't just about words. This has massive, real-world consequences for how businesses are run.
So let's dive into this first section. We can call it the accounting paradox. It's basically this big, clunky problem where the rules for counting money are just way behind how businesses actually work today. You see, with the old school accounting rules, every single penny you spend on your employees, their salary, the cost to hire them, the money for training, all of it is treated as a short-term cost. It's in the same bucket as paying for electricity or buying printer paper. It's just money that's gone. Poof, no future value. And here's where that gets really dangerous. Because of that rule, if a manager decides to, say, cut a really important training program or even lay off a bunch of skilled people, you know what happens? The financial report for that quarter actually looks good. It looks like they cut costs and were being smart with money. It creates this massive blind spot that makes it almost impossible for a manager to say, hey, we should spend money on our team for the long haul. Okay, but things started to change. The world moved on, and this old way of doing the books just wasn't cutting it anymore. A few really big shifts happened that made companies start screaming for a better way to actually measure the value of their people.
It was really a perfect storm. You had a few things happen all at once. First, the economy shifted hard into services and tech. Suddenly, a company's value wasn't just in its factories. It was in the brains of its engineers and designers. Then you had this crazy war for talent, where everyone was trying to be the best place to work to keep their best people from leaving. And on top of all that, managers were being told they needed hard data for every decision, and that included decisions about people.
So, companies knew this was a problem. They tried to fix it, you know? They did employee surveys and HR audits, things like that. And those things were kind of helpful, but they all had the same big weakness. They couldn't actually connect what they were doing in HR directly to the bottom line, to the actual profits. They couldn't put a dollar value on it. They needed a real accounting answer.
And all this pressure for a better way to measure things is what led to a whole new field popping up. And that's what we're here to talk about. Human Resource Accounting, or HRA for short.
So what is HRA? Well, at its heart, it's just a formal system for doing what companies said they were doing all along. It's about actually identifying, measuring, and then reporting on the value of people, not just how much they cost.
Probably the easiest way to get your head around this is with an analogy. Think about a company buying a huge $1 million piece of machinery. They don't just say, well, we spent $1 million this year. Of course not. They call it an asset. They put it on their official books, on the balance sheet, because they know it's going to provide value for years and years to come. HRA says, okay, let's do that exact same thing, but for people.
All right, so how does this actually work? What are the steps? Well, first, the company invests in you. They recruit you, they train you. Then comes the magic trick. Instead of just writing this cost off as an expense, they capitalize them. That's the key. All that means is they officially list that investment as a long-term asset. And finally, over your expected career, they gradually amortize that value, which is just a fancy way of saying they spread out the cost over time. It's a complete 180 in thinking.
Okay, so the big idea is pretty simple, right? But putting an actual dollar sign on a person, yeah, that can get a little tricky. Over the years, a ton of different models have been created,
But they pretty much all fall into two main buckets.
So you've got two main ways to slice this. The first is the cost-based approach. Think of this like looking at the price tag on something you bought. It just asks a simple question: what did it cost us to get this person in the door and up to speed? The other way is the value-based approach. This is more like forecasting the future. It asks, okay, going forward, how much money is this person actually going to make for us?
Let's talk about the cost-based models first. These are definitely the more straightforward of the two. They rely on something accountants love: historical cost. It's simple. You just add up all the money you spent on recruiting, hiring, and training, and bam, that's the asset's value.
Now, value-based models, they're a bit more ambitious. They're trying to look into the future, which also makes them a lot more complicated. Basically, they try to predict all the value an employee is going to create over their entire time with the company. And then they use some financial math to figure out what all that future money is worth today.
All right, so this is all really interesting as an idea, but what's the so what? Why should anyone actually go through all this effort? The answer is simple. It helps leaders make way, way smarter decisions about their business. I mean, HRA is a total game changer in a bunch of different areas. It completely changes how you think about investments. It helps you plan your workforce for the future. You can finally calculate the real return on investment for training programs. It can even help you build better ways to measure performance and decide on pay. It gives you the hard data that was never there before.
And this is where the rubber really meets the road. With this kind of data, a manager can finally answer those really tough questions. Like, is this super expensive training course actually worth the money? Who are the people we absolutely cannot afford to lose? What is the real financial hit we take when someone quits? When you start seeing people as assets, the answers to these questions just get so much clearer. It makes doing the right thing the easy thing.
So let's wrap up with this. Human resource accounting isn't just some dusty old theory. It's a really deep shift in how we think about the whole relationship between a company and its people. And it leaves us with one last question to chew on. A question for you, really. If your skills, your knowledge, and your potential are really and truly a company asset, then how is your company investing in you?